my thoughts are that it's generally a story about faith, and how it's not the specific act that heals you, but it's your faith in God and Jesus and that's how healing acts are done.
Would have to be Jesus' response to what happened while he was walking. Because he knew who touched him. But he still turned around and asked.
I guess I think about what it is that Jesus has, what it is that kind of surrounds the connection between them when she just has this faith and touches him and she's healed. Where, Jesus is in a crowd and there's tons of people around him and maybe they might be hurting, but even if they bump into him, they're not healed. So what is it that makes the difference there?
It's interesting that Jesus can notice the woman touching his cloak, because you have one of his disciples asks him like why you, like, there are people all around, like, how do you even notice? But Jesus still notices that one person touching him. I think that's it's interesting.
Well, I assume that because she was bleeding, she probably didn't have many friends. She probably wasn't that well accepted. I assume that she was seen as dirty and poor. And like the text says, that she spent all that she had on trying to get better. So she really didn't have much to offer a man per se in a relationship, or I don't know, I assume she was kind of shunned.
Because of the bleeding, it's one of the things that made you ceremonially unclean in the Jewish culture. So she would have spent most of her life as an outcast among the cripples and the lepers. She wouldn't have been able to work. She wouldn't have been able to worship at the temple. And her life pretty much would have been, like the untouchables of India would be today.
Chances are, my assumption, I don't know a whole lot, but women didn't have a whole lot of role in society, so she probably wasn't, her value probably wasn't very high. So the priority would be who Jesus would heal, probably in the society wouldn't necessarily be a woman.
Anything having to do with death or blood, pretty much you are kind of kicked out of the society for a little while for cleaning purposes, just so that nobody else gets sick or things like that is what it was originally intended for. But because she was continuously bleeding, then she was probably, nobody wanted to be around her, everyone stayed away from her. Probably any friends or family that she had probably didn't support her very well either, so it would have been pretty rough.
It's more the fact that her particular situation is something that made her apart from the culture. But even when the culture said that she wasn't good enough, her faith made her good enough and made her whole.
Like the text says, she spent all of her money and everything she had to get better, and yet her disease just kept getting worse. There was nothing she could do. So her last resort was Jesus, and she had to just believe that even touching him would heal her. So I guess it's humbling inspiration to fall at our feet before God and to at least touch the tip of his cloak and believe that everything is going to be better when it's put in his hands.
Well, right at the end, Jesus says to the woman, "Daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace and be freed from your suffering." And from that, Jesus tells us that because a lot of times we just don't seem worthy. It's so easy to think that we're not worthy to get something from God because God is God and amazing.
Mostly just the principle that if there's hurting in my life or a continuous pain or a continuous suffering that brings a life of trouble or agony, that being faithful that Christ can heal me in whatever way, whether it's a physical ailment or a situation.
Wow. I think it could make a huge difference.
Okay, she's in pain and she's healed, but you don't quite get the full impact if you don't know that she was an outcast in society because of the bleeding. So that adds an extra element that you might not have known before.
I mean, I don't know all the culture, but I think it's really important to know about the culture of what's going on, because there's so much that's going on that it's so easy to overlook, and like the culture influences so much of what's going on.
If you read this particular passage and didn't know the Jewish ceremonial rites and the fact of being ritually unclean or spiritually unclean because of the physical bleeding, you wouldn't understand the woman's situation, like what she had to go through every day, and the amount of faith that she had to have, even though she couldn't worship her God in the temple because of her uncleanness.